Welcome to another deep dive today.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at Circular Intelligence by Balazs Vendler.
Okay.
It was published on vendler.hu back in August.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really interesting piece.
Yeah.
The way he connects his personal experiences to these sort of bigger questions about technology and humanity and where we're headed.
It's fascinating how he uses these anecdotes to kind of draw you into these deep philosophical questions.
Right.
He starts with this childhood memory of this solar-powered spaceship game
Yeah, I love that.
that he really wanted.
Right.
But he didn't have one, so he says, I drew it on paper.
Right.
Pressing the imaginary buttons, I made all the sounds myself.
I know, it's such a great image.
It's powerful.
Like this seeking connection even in solitude.
Yeah.
And then he contrasts that with this, much heavier encounter.
Right.
This crying homeless man repeating, "Nobody loves me."
Right.
And Vendler writes, "It wasn't his loneliness that got to me the most. It was my own."
Oh, wow.
And it's this jarring shift.
Yeah.
But it kind of highlights that tension we all experience.
Right.
Between wanting to be connected and also needing our own space.
That push and pull.
Right.
Yeah, and it's not just personal musing, right?
Yeah.
He brings in the science.
He does.
He mentions the Harvard study of adult development,
Right.
which followed hundreds of people for decades.
Wow.
And the finding was
Yeah.
strong relationships were the biggest factor in long-term happiness and health.
So it's not just about feeling good. It's actually impacting how well we age.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just, one-on-one relationships.
Okay.
He expands it to this idea of networks,
Right.
drawing on Albert Laszlo Barabassi's work.
Okay.
Barabassi says,
Right.
we create a large network, a web,
Mhm.
all of us with each other.
Yeah.
And Vendler highlights how this applies to relationships, nature, and even technology.
We're all so interconnected.
we sure are.
Like whether it's our social circles or our reliance on infrastructure or even just the way information spreads online. It's like this giant web.
It is.
And AI is becoming a bigger part of it all the time.
Vendler poses the question, how does the artificial become natural?
It really makes you think
Does.
about how these smart tools are just woven into our lives.
They're part of the fabric.
Yeah. And he traces this really fascinating historical arc.
Yeah.
He points out that early humans, they needed this vast amount of knowledge just to survive.
Right.
He writes, each individual was a generalist
Mm-hmm.
with extensive knowledge about everything related to survival,
Yeah.
from finding food to making tools.
I know. It's
Yeah.
like so different from us today.
right.
He contrasts it jokingly with modern life.
Yeah,
My grandfather would be ashamed to know what things I call a specialist to the house for.
right.
We've become so reliant on others, on
Yeah.
these networks of knowledge and skills.
It's like we've traded individual expertise
Right.
for collective reliance.
Yes.
We depend on these networks
Mm-hmm.
for information, emotional support,
Yeah.
even our basic needs.
And it's not even just survival anymore, right? It's
Right.
efficiency.
It's convenience.
It's what Vendler calls this drive towards.
effortless
Yes.
living.
That's it.
And he makes this striking statement.
What's that?
He says, today, our emotional well-being and mental state depend on our network,
Right.
but so does our very existence.
Powerful.
And technology plays a huge role in fulfilling that desire for effortless living.
It does.
Think about how we rely on our phones for everything these days. We navigate with them.
Mhm.
We get news and entertainment.
We manage our finance.
even get relationship advice sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like we're outsourcing our thinking
With these devices.
to these devices.
Yeah.
Which brings us to this point about
Okay.
the shift of knowledge.
Yeah.
Vendler says knowledge, which used to reside mostly in humans and their relationships, now resides within objects.
Interesting.
So instead of knowledge being passed down through generations
Mm.
or learned directly,
Right.
it's increasingly embedded in these increasingly sophisticated tools.
I see.
It makes you wonder, are we losing something in that exchange?
It does make you wonder.
Vendler raises that exact question.
Okay.
He asks, could our pursuit of comfort reach a point where we feed knowledge into our machines, making them so smart that they can reproduce themselves,
Wow.
so we no longer have to deal with it?
That's a pretty unsettling thought.
It is.
Like, are we on this path where our tools become so advanced they no longer need us?
Right. It leads us to the core of what he calls circular intelligence.
Okay.
He's suggesting that these tools could become so advanced that they start creating their own tools,
Mirroring us.
mirroring the creation cycle of humanity.
So it's like this loop.
Yeah.
where our creations become the creators.
It's a pretty mind-blowing concept.
It is.
And it raises some really big questions about our future.
Yeah, we should dive into those.
We should.
Okay.
But we'll have to do it after a quick break.
Sounds good.
We'll be back soon to explore the implications of circular intelligence and what it might mean for the future of humanity.
I'm ready.
So we're back and ready to really unpack this whole idea of circular intelligence.
It's pretty profound.
It is. It really is. And Vendler really gets you thinking about those implications, you know?
What I think is really striking is that he doesn't just lay out like a theoretical framework.
Right.
He brings it back to these human experiences.
Yeah.
He says, it is fascinating to witness how our desire for comfort and simplicity
Right.
has driven the evolution of intelligence.
He's connecting it to like our everyday desires.
Yeah.
For things to be easier,
Mhm.
more convenient.
Right.
It's like that human drive that he illustrated with the solar-powered spaceship.
Exactly.
You know, we're always looking for ways to make things better, smoother.
And he points out how throughout history, that desire has led us to create tools.
Right.
Early on, those tools were simple.
Uh-huh.
But as knowledge grew, so did the complexity of our creations.
Right.
Vendler says, as human knowledge advanced, we created tools to accomplish more tasks. And these tools became smarter, transferring human capabilities and knowledge into artificial objects.
It's like we're constantly pushing the boundaries of what our tools can do.
We are.
Like we went from basic hand tools
Right.
to machines,
Uh-huh.
and now we're in this age of like incredibly sophisticated AI.
It's true.
Makes you wonder where that trajectory is leading us.
Vendler asks that.
Yeah.
When will they reach the point where our own tools create tools to make their tasks easier for them?
Wow. That's a powerful image.
It is.
Like these tools becoming self-sufficient,
Yeah.
no longer needing our input.
And he doesn't shy away from the potential consequences.
No, he does.
He writes, this is where the danger lies, as we may reach a point where our tools fueled by artificial intelligence become so advanced that they no longer require our intervention,
Right.
our guidance, or even our existence.
It's like this potential shift in power dynamics.
Yeah.
You know, we've always been the creators.
Correct.
But what happens when our creations reach a point where they can create on their own,
Yeah.
potentially surpassing us in intelligence and capability?
He paints this picture of the future with this line.
What is it?
Imagine a world where our algorithms design and build new machines, where robots assemble themselves, and where artificial intelligence systems evolve independently, learning, adapting, and creating at a pace that dwarfs human comprehension.
That's both awe-inspiring and a little bit terrifying.
It is.
It raises all these existential questions.
Right.
Like Vendler asks, will we become extinct or gods?
Big questions.
He throws out this incredible thought. Are we the artificial intelligence of a previous extinct human species? And now we are shaping our future in the image of our creator.
Wow.
It's mind-blowing.
It is.
Are we just repeating a cycle that's been playing out for millennia?
And he connects this back to our human tendency towards seeking comfort and ease.
Okay.
He says, I feel that comfort and simplicity are killing us as we live our lonely lives with our tools.
It's like a warning
It is.
that in our pursuit of effortless living,
Right.
we might be losing sight of what truly matters.
What makes us human?
Right. And he's not saying technology is inherently bad,
No.
but he's urging us to be mindful of our relationship with it.
Absolutely.
Are we using it to enhance our lives, or are we becoming so reliant that we're losing our autonomy, our ability to think and create for ourselves?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah. And he ends with this powerful message,
What's that?
this call to action.
Okay.
He says, because life isn't something to solve, it's something to live.
It's a good reminder.
Yeah. He's reminding us that there's more to life than efficiency and convenience.
There is.
You know, there's connection,
Mm-hmm.
experience, and this human drive
Right.
to create and explore.
He's saying don't get so caught up in the pursuit of effortless that you forget to actually live.
Exactly. And it leads to some thought-provoking questions about what role we choose to play
Right.
in this future where technology is advancing at an unprecedented pace.
So if our tools are evolving to the point where they can create and potentially even think for themselves, what does that mean for us?
Right. What does it mean to be human in a world where the lines between creator and creation are blurring?
These are big questions.
They are.
And Vendler's circular intelligence gives us a lot to ponder.
It does. I'm still thinking about all this stuff.
I know, me too. Vendler's ideas are really something.
You really get you thinking about those early humans,
Yeah.
like how they had to be generalists,
Right.
knowing so much just to survive.
Stay alive, yeah.
He says
Let me guess.
they could build shelter, make tools, hunt, gather, and care for the sick.
I knew it.
It's so different from how we live today.
It is. We specialize, right?
We do.
We rely on these networks of experts
Right.
and our tools to do so much for us.
Exactly. And that reliance is what Vendler argues is shaping us.
Yeah. What'd he say?
He says our reliance on tools and networks is not merely a matter of convenience.
Mm-hmm.
It is becoming an essential part of our survival.
So it's not just that we're choosing to rely on technology. It's like it's woven into our existence.
And as our tools become more sophisticated, more like us, he raises that question.
About,
What happens when they reach circular intelligence?
okay, what happens?
Well, he describes it like this. When our tools are capable of self-reproduction and making tools for their own work,
Yeah.
then what?
It's a good question.
It is.
It's like a turning point.
Right, where those lines
Oh.
between creator and creation get blurry.
It's interesting how he doesn't really give any answers.
He does.
He just asks more questions.
He asks, will we become extinct or gods to our creations?
Wow.
Will we be the creators of our machines? Will they worship us in their creations?
That's heavy stuff.
It is. And he connects it all back, to those personal experiences he was talking about earlier.
Right.
That tension between solitude and connection.
Uh-huh.
He says, I feel that comfort and simplicity are killing us as we live our lonely lives with our tools.
So we create these tools to make life easier.
Right.
But in doing so, are we isolating ourselves even more?
And becoming more dependent on those tools.
On each other, yeah.
It's like a paradox.
It is.
There's a balance there somewhere.
Right,
We can benefit from technology,
for sure.
but we have to think about how it's changing us.
Shaping us.
You know, like how it affects our relationships, our experiences. We are.
And he ends with that line.
Which one?
One, because life isn't something to solve.
Yeah.
It's something to live.
That's a good reminder.
That even with all this AI and technology,
Right.
we can't forget what it means to be human.
Exactly. It's about connection experience. Finding meaning in our own lives,
And we can't just hand that over to some machine.
no matter how smart it gets.
Vendler's Circular Intelligence is a great read.
It is.
It makes you think about our relationship with technology and the choices we're making.
Yeah. And where it's all headed.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into circular intelligence.
It's been fun.
We hope you enjoyed it and that it gave you something to think about.